And we're now going to turn our attention to your questions, everybody. So here we go.
How good has that been, eh? Well,
You got rid of all the dumb ones? Is that what you said?
we have trashed someone's inbox. There is like hundreds of text messages. So apologies if we don't get to them all. We'll definitely give our best shot. So this might be a little bit quick fire for you. But this was quite a good one that came through. So how do you balance out fresh design, creative ideas with something that will actually sell?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's balance. So what we do, it's a bit of a trick, but what we do is a lot of our releases and stuff are just repeats and fresh colors, and then what we do is we combine basically a top seller over here, a top seller over here, and create something unique. That's the secret. Yeah. So just basically getting two things that are successful, fusing them together. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And that's like that enables us to push out a lot of good quality volume and innovation. Yeah.
So you're looking for the win and doubling down?
Yeah. And then also we also do some we experiments as well where we'll do something really out there, but we won't invest heavily into it. We'll invest small into it, and if it bites, then we incrementally increase it as well. Yes. So we have a lot of experiments running all the time, which we do really low quantities on. And if it works, cool. If it doesn't, cool.
So you're capping your risk.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really smart. Hey, this has come through in a lot of different ways, and there's two flavors of the question. Like, what was the biggest mistakes you made in the early days versus what was the greatest decisions you made in the early days? So maybe dovetail those in.
Great question. Biggest mistake. Biggest mistake was just having such an ego and thinking that whatever I had the Midas touch and whatever I thought would turn to gold, and actually not listening to people that are older and wiser and more experienced than me. Even though, because I used to have this thing, it's like, well, you don't understand, you're not kind of cool, you're not on my demographic, I don't want your advice. But actually, like looking back, it was very, very smart. And so I think that it's really important to, just listen to people that are smarter and wiser. You don't have to take it on board, or you can get a couple of different opinions, but just listening to that advice. So, I wish I had a CFO, and the moment that CFO left, I was like, she recommended that we get another one, even though they're expensive. But we didn't, because we're like, well, we'll save money and we'll do a virtual CFO that will come in once or twice a month. Just like, that was a big mistake, huge mistake. Probably the trajectory of my life would have been different if I listened to her. And what was the other part of the question?
Well, that was the mistakes, but what was the success? What was the thing you're like, man, I wish I'd done more of that?
Biggest success. Just doubling down on the wins. I think that we have a tendency to, something's working and we want to change it and we want to disrupt it, and it's not broke, but we're trying to fix it. And I think just really doubling down on that and just being simple, keeping it really simple. Like, we have this thing in our office saying, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And I think that's it, just keep it super, super simple. I don't know if that fully answers it, but just doubling down on the wins, and then just all the other stuff, just ignoring.
Yeah, I mean,
the ability to say no.
You talked about it like a clean, simple brand, but you've got a clean, simple business model.
Yeah, very clean and
simple. That's what I
simple.
felt coming through. You talking to brands, you've got a great brand. How do you protect that brand? How do you invest in that brand? And how do you deflect the challenges?
I think, how do you protect it? I think the way to protect it is just staying in your own lane and not being fixated about what everybody else is doing. Be aware, but don't waste all your time and all your weeks about such and such brand over here and what they're doing and trying to compete with them. And I think that's probably one of the best insurance policies you can do for your brand. But in terms of protection, legal stuff, I don't know if it's that. I'll just trademark everything, even if you don't think you need it. Trademark it anyway, because we had a big thing in China where someone took I Love Ugly, and they trademarked it, and over there it's a little bit different, where you can trademark it. It's a first in, first served basis, and then they wanted like $150,000 US for us to get it back, but then we managed to file for a non-use trademark, so we could actually challenge it. But I think like that as well, just trademarks and yeah.
You've how many staff have you got?
Including part-timers and myself, is about 20 of us. Yeah. But
Awesome.
that's another thing. I used to be so obsessed, like, 30 staff and this. I used to be obsessed with that. But it was the wrong thing to be obsessed with. But yeah, 20 staff.
How do you keep that vision and how do you keep that inspiration in front of them?
It's very challenging for the retail staff because I'm not there. And it's probably something, you probably struggle with as well. Like, it's very easy on campus with the staff because they just feed off your energy. But beyond that, like for the retail, especially the Valley, it's kind of hard. But what I do differently when I hire people is, even if we've got, say, 5 people that are extremely skilled and talented, like I put them all next to each other, but then I hire the person with the right mindset. Like that's how our staff turnover has been extremely low, and they just get what we're doing, and they understand, and they know that, they can take criticism on the chin, and they want to adapt and learn. But yeah, that's how we kind of keep that going. It's just like hiring well. Yeah.
Getting a lot of questions about personal development. You've
Yeah.
touched on it with the posture of learning. You talked about going to see Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you're intentionally doing just to keep ahead of the curve when it comes to that personal development?
Absolutely. I focus on my physiology every day, so I do that through breath work. I have cold showers most days. I go for runs. The thing is like, if you change your physiology, you can change your state, you can change your thoughts, and then you feel good, and you can take on board any problem. But personal development, I think it's massive. The moment I started doing personal development, changed my life. So when I went through that big run when we first grew, I was doing no personal development, and I think that's why we got into deep trouble. Yeah, because I couldn't handle it. I had anxiety, and it was just like unenjoyable, and I didn't know how to handle the stress and the pressure. And I think if you learn how to change your physiology, and everyone's a little bit different, but I think if you learn how to do that, you can handle a lot more, carry a lot more stress on your shoulders. Yeah.
What are you doing that you enjoy? I mean, you started with this business when you were literally designing and then printing, and then outsourced the printing part, but you're hands-on doing creative stuff. Now that you've got scale and size and a global presence, how do you sort of maintain, when I was the boss, it got to the point that the only things I dealt with were problems.
Yeah.
Because everything else gets dealt with lower down, and if it gets to me, it was a challenge. How do you, and so you sort of lose a bit of the win in your role. How do you maintain that? What do you do? How do you keep that joy in your job?
Yeah, it's a good question. I've been struggling with that a lot this year, just because of the nature of the year. It's been a lot of problems, a lot of pivoting, readjusting. It's been challenging. And then I thought to myself the other week, I was like, man, why don't I actually just empower the people around me so they can take on the problems and solve it for me? And but not in a lazy way. It's just like a sustainable way, and it also allows them to really grow as well. Because it's the thing is, if you give them a responsibility to make decision, even if it's wrong, and it probably will be wrong the first few times and not exactly how you want, they'll grow massively as a result of it, and they feel more empowered, and they feel more invested, and they feel more, they feel super proud if it pays off. So I think right now it's like I'm really, sharing my problems with other people to allow me not to avoid the problems, but just to allow me to free up to figure out the next chapter of my life. Because I think right now I've been doing this for 12, 13 years, and this is all I know, and I'm only 35, and I feel there's a new path ahead. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but I need to learn to really enable these people to really step up and raise some amazing leaders.
That's awesome. There's a lot of people in this room who are in that creative space, be that talented musicians, designers, photographers, people that want to take, I guess, that passion and turn it into a business. How did you marry that? Hey, listen, I'm a creative person. You've touched on it a few times, bringing in other people into the business, but how did you really bring the business acumen to be a successful creative designer?
You have to develop business acumen, and you have to learn to wear the two hats. And initially it's going to feel very uncomfortable, but like anything, the more you do it, the more you'll start to get used to it. And you just need to learn, like, even for me, I have to structure my schedule and my week, so I'm like, business hat, creative hat, business hat, creative hat. And that's not going to change. And I think for all creators, they have to learn that. And I think that, you know, traditionally creatives don't make the best business people, but I actually reckon I reckon actually they can make the best business people if they learn to do both, because you come into the business side of it with a creative mentality and the creative problem solving. And now the way I deal with it is I almost reframe it, and I look at business, I almost look at it like any other creative thing, like clothing or whatever. It's like, hey, how can I solve this problem in a creative, fun way? How can I make this fun? Once again, it comes down to questions. How can I make this fun? How can I make this creative? How can I get other people in it to have more fun? That's how I do it, and that's what I'd advise. You have to learn the other side, because otherwise, yeah, you're a starving artist. And I think it's like you're not doing your art or your craft any justice if you don't actually learn how to get it out there and elevate it. If you want it, you have to want it. You have to really want it. If you don't want it, then don't worry about it. But if you want it, you have to learn that other side. I got 9% in maths in school C. Like, I was terrible at maths, but now I know how to read a balance sheet and cash flow forecasts and P&L and all those things. And I just learnt it. And the thing is, you only need to learn a few little things, and it's actually quite enjoyable. And it allows you to become a better creative, I believe.
That's awesome. How have you managed success? Because sometimes the challenge is not when you're, in the grind. You talked about the hustle and the hard work and the fact that, you're often not tempted away because you're just literally at the grindstone.
Mm-hmm.
But then things come, success comes.
Yeah.
How have you managed that journey, and what would you do to do it again?
Yeah, how do I manage it? I think I just don't think about it. Like, even coming here and a lovely introduction from John, like, I felt uncomfortable. Like, I was like, oh, like, I don't think I'm successful, and I think I just don't really, I don't think about it, and I've got like personal standards what I hold myself to, and I think as a result, possibly I do become successful as a result of it. But I think that, and you do see people that are extremely successful and they go completely off the rails as well, and I think it's because they don't know how to manage it and manage the crazy thoughts going on in their head, or they have to drown it out with drugs and alcohol, which is super unfortunate. And fortunately, I just chose a different path. I chose, natural ways of doing it, breath work and all that stuff. But yes, I don't know. It's an interesting question. I don't know if that answers it.
No, it's great. I mean, I think what you said is you put boundaries in place.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, don't believe your own hype. I think when I was younger, I believed my own hype, and and I suffered and failed tremendously because of that. And now it's like, 35 years old, and I've got a long journey to go. So just don't believe it. Yeah.
Staying humble.
Yeah, stay humble. Absolutely, super humble. And that's what I love about the All Blacks. And I interviewed Graham Henry, and it's all about that humbleness as well, which they install in their leaders. And you get these young bucks, superstars come through, and they are probably the best winger in the whole country in first 15, and they come to All Blacks, but that doesn't cut it in that world. And I think being humble is absolutely essential.
You talked about the fact that you've got a great relationship with your manufacturers.
Yep.
And that allows you to do the drops that you're doing and be agile, dynamic. How have you built that relationship with key stakeholders outside of your core business?
Just like any relationship, honesty and frequent communication. If you don't communicate with your wife and you're not honest, you're probably going to drift apart. And I think the same is for factories, and especially with China. I spent a lot of time and money going over there and just having dinner with them and their families and things like that. And when I got into deep trouble, I called every single creditor and supplier and said, hey, I'm going to pay you back. You can have my word on it, but you're just going to have to be patient, and you're just going to have to work with me. And since I kind of built that, I made all those what's the word? I invested all that time into the relationships prior to this. They stuck with me, and they still allowed to give me credit and produce stock, and I paid them all back. I paid every single one of them back. So I think that's it. Just any relationship, just get on the phone. Obviously, can't go on a plane now. Skype, Zoom. Yeah, be honest, be raw. Yeah, they love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, people buy from people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they wanted to buy from you and, continue that relationship because of your integrity and your honesty in that situation. What other, because that's a really powerful point, and you talked about problems before, and, we always said there's always going to be like once in every 10-year crisis, and we've had 3 in our last 10 years.
Yeah.
You think about earthquakes, you think about GFC, you think about COVID.
Yeah.
What are the things that you've learned that should the next thing be around the corner, you're like, I'm ready for this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to apply?
Yeah, I just learned, as I said before, it's just like not think negatively, but just anticipate there's going to be some more challenges ahead. And I think that simple concept is enough to kind of equip you for the future and for what's to come. But also at the same time as well, you need to, from a business sense, you also need to say, build up the balance sheet and make it super strong so you can handle that stuff as well. Make sure that you got enough cash reserves and things like that. But yeah, that's basically it.
So building up cash reserves, getting preparation. What about like staff and?
Yeah, and staff as well, of course. Staff are just the number one. People say that customers are number one. It's staff are number one, because the thing is, you don't have a customer without staff. And I think if you can invest in them, and it's like that time where I said when, I got that call I went to the bank meeting and I had to pay them back that $500,000 in 7 days, and I was going to lie. I told the truth, and they appreciated the truth, and they fought that battle with me, and I wasn't doing it solo. And that's just part of it. I think showing vulnerability is an actual strength, because it actually shows that we're all alike. I feel pain, you feel pain, and I think people get behind people like that actually are not afraid to show their true colors and their vulnerability.
This question talks about balance, which I think is an interesting subject.
Yeah.
It talks about balancing work, family, particularly during high growth times. You talked about working till 2 a.m.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound very balanced.
Nah. But in the early days, you got to do what you got to do. Yeah. Is
it something you've managed to achieve today, or
absolutely
is life more about order than balance?
Yeah. For me, family's first. So, I got 3 children and a beautiful wife, and I'm just they're my world, they're my priority. And the thing is, if like that fails, everything fails. So that's taught me to be balanced. And my kids are so inquisitive, and they're all asking me, Dad, this. And I have to be on my A game, and that's taught me and forced me to have balance. And I know that, there's this culture that you have to work all day, every day, and, burn yourself to the bone, but I don't believe that. I feel that you can be effective by doing less if you have balance, and if you understand leverage, and if you've got great relationships, and if you have a simple business.
Talking business and getting that balance, what's your, do you have a 5-year goal, 10-year goal? Where does the vision for the next season sit
for
with
me
you?
Personally, or the company?
Yeah, for the company.
Yeah, that's what I'm really trying to figure out at the moment. Yeah, I'm not too sure, which sounds a little bit funny considering, I was talking about vision earlier. But I'm just figuring out that next step for me, where I fit in that picture. I believe that I Love Ugly can be the biggest, one of the biggest online menswear brands or unisex brands in the world. But whether it's me getting it to there, I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out. I'm trying to figure out where I fit in that picture. That's my next thing in life, what I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, because I do feel that I've got a bit of a calling elsewhere, for something else, but I don't know exactly what that is, what shape or form. So bit of soul searching. Yeah.
How much of the creative process are you now involved with I Love Ugly?
So I've got executive decision on every single product now that we and I'm fully over every single product. When we got into trouble, I let that go, and we got into deep trouble, and a lot of people felt that we lost our identity and who we were. So I've gone back on that, but in saying that, I've got some amazing people and structure around that to enable me to do that. Because the thing is like as you grow and as you develop as a person, you have to start letting go of certain things and you start focusing on important things and things that you feel you can add most value to the company. So I'm still over every single product. Yeah, like all of it.
Last question from me. It's been great getting these questions, and thank you for your input. Really powerful. You said that you got to a point where you realised something was missing.
Yeah.
And that was the God element for you.
Yeah.
Let's finish on God.
Yeah.
What drove you to that? What attracted you to Christianity? How did you go and marry that desire in your heart with the practicality of what you're doing every day?
Yeah, as I said, I was doing everything in the books and this and that and the Tony Robbins stuff, and I just felt something was missing, and I didn't really know what it was. And then my best friend, Andre, his dad was a pastor, Pastor Brent Douglas, and I didn't really know that. Didn't really know he was a pastor. I kind of met him a few times, and then I was like, hey man, can I just meet your dad? And went and met his dad, and he's like, oh, I know exactly, say what's wrong. I was like, weird, I didn't even open my mouth. And he kind of knew, and then I went to church, and it just felt right, and it felt that things started to change, and I felt that I wasn't alone, and all of a sudden I had like all this favor, and I felt lighter, and I felt more driven, more energized. I felt I had a desire to become a better human being, a better man. I started to notice little things, like I'd lie for no reason, like just no reason, little white lies, and I felt it didn't sit well in my heart, and I felt that I wanted to change that, and I felt I just wanted to purify myself really, and I think that led me to that. It kind of just all just happened. I didn't consciously go out and do it, it just happened. So, he came to me, and I went to him and closed the gap, and the rest is history. And like it's still pretty early on in the piece, but it's actually very exciting developing that. And my wife is the same. She I didn't push it on her. She just saw the changes in me, and she found God and became Christian, and she stopped drinking, and it's amazing. Like our marriage has never been better, and family, and I think people feel that within the company as well, and just the culture's amazing, and we don't push that onto people, but I think it just resonates in people, they feel it. So it's been an exciting journey, and even now, like, as soon as I walked into this building, I just felt this energy, and I told John, like, this is the first time where I've had like a speaking gig where I'm not nervous, because I felt part of this family, and I think it's something special, and kudos to John and Jillian and what they've built, and obviously the team, and all you guys are so amazing and hospitable, and feels amazing, and I think that's all from God. So it's great.
Fantastic. Well, can we thank Valentin for tonight, and just
Cool.
an incredible wisdom. Thank you so much.